He was kidnapped by the demon princess. Now he's no longer human. He can even throw hands with the princess's right hand with ease. And what amazing art this manhwa has, my friends. The female characters are very well filled out, if you know what I mean. Our protagonist has a monstrous power that even he didn't know about. That's because his soul was transplanted into the body of the strongest demon, who also happens to be the princess's fiancé. Suddenly the princess jumps on him and throws him onto the bed. She sits on top of him, drops her aura, and lets her two big fresh melons breathe some fresh air. Maybe now he's gonna have to reproduce and make a little demon, even though he's human. That demon girl is too much sand for your truck to handle. He's never seen a woman that beautiful in his life, and things only keep getting better. Oh, and I forgot to mention something, so I'll change the subject and then we'll come back. Our protagonist needs to get revenge on the human heroes. That's because this is that typical story where monsters come out of portals and humans awaken powers. But there's something different here. The heroes in this story are idiots. The protagonist is constantly bullied by them and was even left to die, all because the boy's father went to buy cigarettes in a dungeon and never came back. So the hero said he was a traitor. But the truth is he wanted to be a hero and even fought strong monsters. But in the end he had no powers, so he just got beaten up. After everything, the ones who get the credit for saving people are the heroes group. And that idiot hero after his death was honored while he was forgotten. The protagonist who needed an antidote to survive the monster was humiliated. They used the antidote to torture him, saying the dog needed it more than he did. But in the end the dog just pooped on the antidote. Even the dog mocked him. I'm laughing out of anger, but yeah, it's funny. Now he should do like that other manhwa. When the protagonist realizes he can't beat the high-rank hunter, he throws poop at the guy. At least he dies while humiliating his enemy. In this case, the protagonist was left on the ground alone, just him and the dog's poop. Suddenly a demon girl showed up. He even tried to attack her but was easily stopped. Then she grabbed him and took him to another world. He was literally kidnapped by a hot demon girl. We don't get that kind of luck. There she explains that demons only respect power. She was marrying the previous owner of that body to have protection since she's a princess. But suddenly the owner of the body appeared with his mouth full of ants, and that's why she placed the protagonist's soul into his body. That moment when she got on top of him and let the melons breathe was because there were spies watching everything. She couldn't let them think her husband was dead, otherwise she'd be next on the list. But we have to make the most of this situation. The woman stares at the boy and says that in the end he'd been abandoned by humans anyway. The woman next to her says the guy was just some random soldier, and since there weren't any other survivors around, the princess had no choice but to pick him. The guy starts feeling a pain in his chest. Then the princess asks if he's going to cooperate or if he plans to die again. That question makes the boy furious. The horned girl holds out a tablet that's live streaming the ceremony for the heroes. Captain Konda Yu receives a first-class medal for his performance in the battle. That's a huge honor and everyone celebrates the captain's success. A woman with her son walks up and the kid runs toward the man, thanking him for saving him. The little boy wants Konda Yu to teach him how to fight too, because he wants to become a hero in the future. Sakuma Retsu and Riku Darren say the boy is still way too young for that, and should leave the battles to the adults. The kid gets mad and says he's not just a little kid, and he wants to fight too because he's strong. The captain picks the boy up, smiling, and starts an encouraging speech. Konda Yu explains his role as a hero and says he's there to protect the whole population, as the last line of defense. To him, failing in front of the enemy, fearing death, or abandoning people who can't fight is basically the same as committing murder. That's why he doesn't plan to forgive traitors. In the audience, people start yelling that traitors shouldn't be forgiven and that they're a disgrace. Watching that, MC feels a heavy weight in his body. Suddenly, his photo shows up on the screen saying he's a member of the hero ranks who's on the run. The guy starts feeling desperate and filled with rage. The horned girl says he doesn't need to cooperate with the demons, but nobody's gonna thank him even once, and he'll live as a traitor forever. It's frustrating to die like you never did anything good, and without being able to defend yourself. The guy has no idea why his family had to go through all that while the ones spreading lies keep living and getting praised. He doesn't plan to die no matter what happens. One day he'll get revenge on those bastards. He wants to make Konda Yu pay for what he did to him. His plan is to pay back all that cruelty twice over. The demon girl is happy with the boy's decision, and the two of them head out side by side toward a dragon. The creature is sleeping peacefully, and the MC reaches his hand toward it. Seeing him come closer, the dragon roars angrily, but the princess steps in front of it to protect him. Then she reaches her hand toward the beast. Apparently that was Shura's dragon, and even though the MC has his body, the soul is different, and the animal can tell. She forms a ring in her hand that can make his human aura disappear, so he can pass better as a demon. Her subordinate comes up with a stack of papers saying that's Shura's history, and the guy has to learn everything before going to the demon palace. The stack of papers is heavy, and the MC is pissed off about that obligation. He wants to know how many days they think it'll take him to memorize all that. The princess says that if he doesn't want to memorize it, he doesn't have to, but if he slips up even once, she'll kill him herself. The guy stays quiet, not knowing how to react to that. The wings of the flying monster spread open, and the group takes off. Flying around from up high, the MC sees a citadel full of demons enjoying life. All this time, the guy thought demons and monsters in general were savage beings who didn't know how to live in a society. The princess says that place isn't that different from the world the MC came from, so he'll get used to it fast. Angry, the boy says they are totally different after all. Humans help each other while demons only know how to steal and kill. Looking at the demon's belongings, he wonders if that stuff was stolen from the human world. The princess's subordinate says it's natural to steal whatever you can from your enemies when you're at war. In the end, a thief can only speak from a thief's point of view. The princess notices the MC is outraged and has a lot of hatred toward demons. Then something catches her attention. Weird monstrous insects are coming toward them. Quickly, the MC braces himself, but his wife doesn't seem to back down. She creates a barrier that protects the group and the dragon, and the guy asks where those insects came from and why there are so many. The woman just says the creatures come from the abyss, and if you get stung by that monster, you'll feel pain for several days. So the next step is to lower their altitude. The dragon dives through the air toward the ground. That shaking makes the MC feel nauseous. The group flies over a kind of lake where monsters are living out their natural cycle. That is the abyss, a place known as the ocean in the other world. The princess says she doesn't know what laws the MC was talking about that humans follow. But demons have their own rules to survive. One of the most basic is that the strong eat the weak. The abyss water has strong toxins that give off miasma and cause nausea. It spreads through the air and the ground too. In that place, the weak aren't even allowed to survive. They can't build shields or other survival tools like humans can, so all they have left is stealing. In that place, life is only for the strongest, and death for the weakest. Apparently that's the demon clan's only rule. The MC remembers that every soldier who tried to invade the other world died from poisoning, and after that the whole attack ended the same way. Maybe that's why they're right in the middle of that ocean, and the MC notices that if he's planning to run, this is his chance. Even so, he still doesn't have enough training yet, and it would be really dangerous. Besides, if he goes back to his world like that and tells what happened, nobody's gonna believe him, and he'll get killed by Kanda Yu again. Looking back, the princess asks what the guy is thinking, and he tries to change the subject. She says they're almost reaching the center of the abyss, so he needs to hold on tight to the dragon, and the creature dives really hard. The guy isn't used to flying that fast, and clings to the creature in desperation. When they land, he drops to the ground shaking, and throws up from motion sickness. The MC gets up completely dazed, and the demon girl slaps him across the face to see if he'll wake up. Even so, it ends up being way too hard, and the guy goes flying away. When he lifts his face, he's in the demon clan's palace. The dragons lie down to rest. Apparently other demon generals are there. The princess's subordinate notices they're really strong, and were probably the ones who sent those little eyes to spy on them. The demon girl asks if the MC studied the documents he was given, and he gets a little nervous. The ponytail woman realizes the guy is useless, and yells at him. Then she points her knife at him, saying that if he messes up even once, she'll kill him first to protect her princess. Trying to defend himself, the MC says he's an ally, and they need to trust him instead of always thinking about killing him. The demon princess comes closer and says in a sweet voice that he still needs to be careful either way. Trying to act cool, the guy says they might be misinformed, but he was known as the brains in the army. Since he didn't have any special ability, his job was to analyze enemies as fast as possible to find their weakness. Spotting a monster's weaknesses is like a little game to him. In the process, he memorized a bunch of info about the demon clan, so they can feel safe with him around. Suddenly the gates open and a bunch of eyes turn toward them. There are a lot of demons in that hall staring at the MC. The princess stops at his side and says they should go in. The trio enters that place. Everyone makes comments about Shura, calling him the god of death, and they figure if they kill him, they can have the princess. All of a sudden, a blonde guy rushes toward the MC, and the demon girl's subordinate steps in front of him to try to protect him, but she gets thrown away, and the guy keeps coming. The princess hits him, defending the guy. She uses her abilities to keep the worst from happening, and the blonde demon gets knocked back. Then the princess asks what Marin is trying to do. The guy with the six-pack says he's not doing anything, and asks if the princess is okay. A pink-haired demon girl named Mam says it's a surprise to see her, and apparently the little princess has been pretty busy. Another demon with a goth teen face named Mary says there were rumors that Shura had gone missing, but apparently she already found him. Mary points out it's a really important day for Shura to suddenly disappear, and asks what's going on. Mammy makes fun of the princess and says if it were her, she would have destroyed the guy and turned him into little pieces. Marin asks if Shura ditched his wife to go after some tramp. The demon princess watches all that in silence, thinking that the info about Shura's disappearance had already been spread, and if the killer demon was there, they'd end up exposing themselves. The people there are still calm, so maybe the one responsible hasn't confirmed the guy's death. Around them, the demons start yelling that the princess should dump that idiot and marry them. Marin points at Shura and asks the MC if he'll accept a duel, and whoever wins marries the princess. Everyone there starts cheering happily. The demon girl looks around and notices the people there are trying to get Shura to feel provoked and accept the fight. Her companion says the situation is getting a little out of control, and when they look at the MC, he's scared to death. Suddenly his heart starts beating way too hard, and the guy doesn't understand why this is happening. His whole body is shaking. He's been between life and death countless times, but he's never felt fear like that, and he doesn't know what he's scared of. It's almost like he's some poor little lamb surrounded by starving wolves. That's scarier than death, because it looks like he's about to get hunted. The princess notices someone's using an illusion, and if that really were Shura, that kind of magical energy wouldn't be a problem. But the boy's soul is human. Like this, he's going to be destroyed. But if she moves right then, it'll expose that Shura is a fake. so she doesn't know what to do. The MC realizes he can't even breathe properly, like his heart's being crushed, and is about to explode. The blonde guy walks up to him and tells him to say something. When the MC doesn't say anything, he gets mad. Marin yells that Shura is underestimating him, and gets ready to attack. Then his wife kicks him in the back, knocking him to the floor. When the MC hits the ground hard, everyone stares, shocked, not understanding what's going on. She tells Shura that a man who can't pull himself together isn't worthy of her, so he needs to act or the engagement is off. The MC gets up, noticing he can breathe and move again. The blonde guy is outraged and says Shura is a coward who can't even defend himself from his own wife. Straightening up, the MC says something, mocking the blonde guy, who gets pissed off. He stands up and asks how Marin dares talk bad about his wife, and attacks the demon. The women there just watch the fight between a coward and a weirdo. Mommy is grateful she isn't a man right now. The emo demon watches as the god of death is being properly terrifying. Marin drops to the ground, writhing in pain, and the crowd thinks it's impressive. Getting up, the blonde guy says he's going to finish him. Then someone announces the demon king is arriving. A portal opens in the ceiling of the hall, and everyone waits. The demons present, say their names, and kneel in reverence to the king. Everyone behind them is kneeling too. Only Marin is standing, and Maya asks if he plans to disrespect the king. The blonde guy gets mad at that question and ends up kneeling too. The MC thinks that the Demon King is the leader of that clan and the only SS rank monster. Suddenly a capybara appears, leaving the MC completely stunned. Maya's voice pops into his head, telling him not to act surprised. The demon woman tells him not to move because they're communicating by telepathy. The Demon King is old and handed all the tasks to the 4 demon generals, and it's rare for him to show up and show his face, so he communicates through things. Shura has never met the Demon King in person, but for now he needs to stay hidden and quiet. The talking capybara says they have something to discuss today. The clan's 4th meeting is about to happen, but now they need to pick someone to represent them. The demons get excited about that idea. However, the MC has no idea what the king is talking about. Still speaking through telepathy, the princess says that every 5 years the 4 clans meet at that time. They discuss important stuff like contracts, peace treaties, and how to split up the land. The most authoritative figures from each clan take part, and up until now the Demon King would go to these meetings himself. In short, whoever gets chosen to represent them right now will probably become the new Demon King. Marin stands up all full of himself, and says that among the 4 generals he has the most subordinates and the greatest power, so he's the best choice. Even though the blonde guy really is the strongest, he's arrogant and doesn't care about anyone else. Marin says that's embarrassing, and it's not about muscles, it's about using your brain, something Marin can't do. Even though Marin is weaker, he's got excellent logical reasoning, which makes him extremely smart. Maya's subordinate says the most noble one among them is her, so she should go to the meeting. Even though she's the Demon King's daughter, women have low status in the clan, so she's at a disadvantage in the succession. The blonde guy scoffs and says maybe she should learn something from the men, and women don't have a place there. A purple snake appears heading straight for him and starts wrapping around him to attack. Marin strikes back. Mamie strokes the snake, her ally, and says if he keeps underestimating women, they'll end up killing him. She's someone who knows how to use femininity to her advantage. Cruel by nature, she charms all the men there. Marin asks if Mamie feels like fighting, and the woman says no, since he looks a little hurt, so she doesn't want to push him and ruin his masculinity. The blonde guy gets outraged, and Emu says it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman for the demon clan. Power is everything, so he plans to support the strongest one there, no matter who it is. Even the commoners started getting hyped, saying that if they end up being the strongest too, they might have a shot at leading the clan out of nowhere. Everyone heads toward Marin to try to take him down. The blonde guy dodges the attacks and counters others as expected. Mary acted really smart and turned everyone against Marin. The goth demon's idea is to finish off her teammates once they're worn out from the battle. It's a strategy with a lot of upsides. When it's time to negotiate, strength is a trump card, and they don't have time to keep fighting and getting nowhere. Mamie has her dagger in hand and pushes into the fight from behind the blonde guy. The princess quickly moves to stop that attack and protects the demon. The purple-haired girl throws her snake at the princess, who strikes back with her whip. The two of them get tangled up in the fight. Mamie says she's trying to protect the princess, so she shouldn't be doing that. Women should help each other, but standing by a man is just depressing. Mamie says she didn't pick any side, but it doesn't make sense for them to start killing each other like this. Out of nowhere, the MC feels proud seeing his wife can use her brain a little. Apparently the other demons only think about their own interests, which means they end up not listening to reason. The blonde demon is ready to attack and flies up over the princess. The MC yells for her to watch out, and the girl looks up in time. She manages to dodge that attack, and Mamie goes flying away from the impact. The princess also gets thrown back and her subordinate catches her. Mamie says Marin went too far and ended up touching Mamie's snake with his fingers stroking the creature's head. The pink-haired horned girl says she won't forgive the blonde guy if anything happens to her baby. Being an annoying sexist, the guy says she's just some little woman who likes blaming other people holding his huge sword. That's clearly compensating for something. He says nobody there is anything special, and if they want to die they can just come at him to have managed to face so many creatures at once. Marin definitely has a lot of combat power. The ones who still haven't gone after him start getting scared of the fight. That makes the blonde demon proud, and he asks if the Demon King is seeing that. that nobody has any objections to him taking the role. The capybara asks if that's true. Everyone goes quiet, so it's decided that Marin will attend the races conference representing them. Suddenly someone raises a hand asking them to wait. It's the MC, deciding to step forward. Marin gets offended that Shura wants to argue. Marin notices the princess's husband isn't just here to mess around. He's got some ambition too. The princess's maid asks what the boy is doing since there's no way he can beat Marin. The MC's wife tells him to stop it, but the boy is confident he knows what he's doing. Annoyed, the blonde guy says that either way, he still hasn't beaten that brat yet. Then he charges at him with his sword in hand. He yells that he's going to kill the guy and make the princess his wife. Putting an end to that nonsense, the MC says he's not going to fight him, furious. Marin asks what he's talking about. Then the boy mutters something in his ear that leaves the demon completely shocked. He goes silent for a few moments and then fills up with rage, turning to the demon king. Marin says Mommy and Shura are right, and he shouldn't have forced a fight, so he's going to let Maya take part in the conference of the 4 races. He concludes it should be fine for the king's daughter to take on this role. Everyone in the audience is completely shocked. Marin asks what Marin is trying to do. The blonde guy says it's exactly what he said. He says the demon is only focusing on what he thinks is right, without looking at the whole situation, and even if he joins the tournament, it'll be pointless. The crowd tries to argue, but the demon gets furious. The demon lord says Marin gave up and recommended Mommy, so he asks if anyone has any objections. The blonde guy notes that if anyone objects to what he said, they'll be considered his enemy, so everyone stays quiet. Marin starts by saying that if that's Marin's decision, then he has no objections. Everyone agrees. The capybara says that if that's the general decision, then Maya will participate as the demon tribe's representative at the next race's meeting to wrap things up. The king tells Maya not to ruin everyone's expectations and to stand up for the demon tribe's interests. The princess bows to her father and agrees outside. The MC watches Marin leave on top of his dragon. Pissed off at the kid, the princess's maid walks up to the boy and asks what he did earlier. The MC says he didn't do anything special, but the woman argues it's not that easy to change Marin's mind. She wants the kid to tell her what he did. The MC gets embarrassed by the whole situation. Then he explains that he didn't do anything special. Apparently he just threatened to tell everyone that the guy sells beast tribe pups for experiments. That leaves the princess and her subordinate shocked because they didn't know he did that. Apparently when he was in the military, he had access to a lot of classified information. Apparently in the files he accessed, there was information about Marin, not just that he sells pups, but that he pins the blame on the human military as a result. There's an ongoing war between the beasts and the humans, which causes huge damage. The princess's maid asks if he can memorize that whole pile of information, because he was trained beforehand, mocking them. The MC says that in the end he's not as useless as they thought. Maya agrees, saying that for once he was useful for something getting way too full of himself. The MC says that's just a tiny bit of what he can do. The princess stays quiet for a moment and says she's looking forward to seeing more. Mari walks up saying that's what you'd expect from Shura, being able to persuade Marin that easily, which impresses him. The MC says that in the end, that blonde guy is an asshole, and it was Mari who made everyone fight the guy, while he just stood there watching the silver-haired demon. Walks up laughing and says there's something weird about the kid's aura that day. The MC starts getting nervous but asks what he's talking about. Mari says he felt the kid's fear, which is something humans usually feel that makes the princess and her attendant worried. Even the MC drops his tough guy act and gets scared, moving closer. The demon asks why a human feeling is in the demon tribe, and says that's really weird. The princess's maid steps in front of the MC and says that was really rude of Mari. The demon says they don't need to worry too much. He just thought maybe his apata was malfunctioning. The princess says Shura has killed countless humans, so it's not weird that his clothes smell like them. Mari ends up agreeing and says that apparently the princess not only found a great husband, but also a great ally. Then he gives a little chuckle and leaves. The maid asks what he meant by that, and Maya says Mari is great at mental manipulation, mainly because he likes the fear prey feels. At the moment of death, it was probably him who put the magic on the MC earlier, and he seems to be suspicious of the kid who doesn't know what to do. The feeling of being overwhelmed by fear is terrible, and it feels like all his bones are about to snap. Then the MC notes that it was great the princess was by his side in that situation, but he knows that won't always be possible. Maya comments that Mari is going to try to target him now, and Mari will too. Both of them will be against him and she won't be able to stay by his side all the time, so the kid needs to get strong, so that everyone believes he's the real Shura. His servant tries to convince the princess that he's too weak and can't even face normal demons, let alone Marin or Mari. That comment offends the MC, and he gets pissed at being called a weakling. The princess comments that the kid's soul is human, but his body is the demon Shura's, so that could be useful for him later. They're standing in front of a huge gate. The MC asks what place that is. The woman explains it's Shura's place. It's where he keeps the souvenirs and items he gets from dead enemies. The princess opens the gate and they walk into that massive place. It's packed with weapons everywhere. That's what you'd expect from the King of Death. And the MC wonders how many were killed by Shura's hand. He recognizes weapons and gear from the tribes, as well as human military weapons. Apparently he even keeps a winged tribe claw as a trophy, which is seriously messed up. The princess explains that not everything is about Shura's strength. There are other things. She points and says that's the weapon he usually uses in front of them. There's a sword surrounded by a red aura, that's Shura's swords, called Deva Roof. The MC says it doesn't look like anything special, but the subordinate explains that when Deva Roof was brought into that world, an unprecedented war fell over the Demon Kingdom. Marin, Mary, and Mommy fought and were seriously injured. Even the Demon King couldn't hold back Deva Roof in the end. The conflict only stopped when Shura stepped in. Countless demons died without even managing to touch that sword, and the MC is shocked. A weapon can be that insane, but the princess says Deva Roof isn't just a weapon. The powerful demon who wields it has their life mixed in and their strength absorbed by the sword, becoming their master's blood and flesh in the end. The more you kill, the stronger you get. Even if you don't have any magic power, if you use that sword to absorb demonic power, you can get really strong. The MC gets it, and says that if he absorbs enough magic, he can become Shura. Actually, his goal is to surpass Shura later. The girls are watching the MC get beat up by the weakest monsters. Apparently he has zero battle experience and can't kill even the most pathetic enemies. The MC is getting hit from all sides and gets pissed when a little monster flies at him. He tries to slash the enemy, but the sword gets stuck in the ground. The sharp-toothed little thing comes running at him, and the MC takes off in fear, so he won't get eaten alive. The princess says she already figured he was a loser, but she didn't think it was this bad. He doesn't even know how to hold a sword properly, and still had the nerve to say he'd surpass Shura. Humans really do talk big. Sure, his body is the same as Shura's, but he doesn't have his power, so Devarov doesn't recognize him as its master. The princess wonders if that's all there is to him, but maybe she judged wrong. Suddenly, a monster manages to catch up to the MC and tries to attack him, trying to save himself. The boy dodges the hit, but the little demon is ready to finish him off. Its teeth are really sharp, and that freaks the boy out, and he's already got a bite on his torso. The princess doesn't react and just watches the situation for a while until she sees he's got no way out and goes over to deal with those little creatures, using her whip after a few smacks. The little monsters get scared of her, and the MC is safe and sound. The princess says they should take a break. Even so, the MC is determined to keep going. He says he was just a little careless before, but he'll handle it next time. The princess says it's fine, but she looks dissatisfied. She says if anyone sees those bite marks from low-rank monsters on Shura's body, that's going to be a big problem. Only then does the MC notice he's got a tiny cut. He complains that the sword is too heavy and it's hard to move while holding it. He wants to know if there's a way to make it lighter, and gives the weapon a slap. The princess says the Devarov sword only recognizes those who have the potential to be strong as its masters. If it thinks he's worthless, it won't make things any easier at all. Hearing that makes the MC remember all the times he was associated with someone who wasn't worth anything, and it makes him feel awful. Then he gets mad that even the sword thinks that, and asks if the princess also thinks he has no value at all. She's startled by the question and says he must be tired for today, so he should go rest if he can't use Devarov. He doesn't need to worry because she'll protect him. The MC yells at her not to mock him because he doesn't plan on being protected by a woman. Then he runs straight toward the monsters. The princess asks what he's planning to do, worried about what he'll do next. The MC charges toward the little monsters, determined to finish them off. The princess says that without the sword he doesn't stand a chance, and her companion says humans are extremely dumb. One by one, the enemies start biting the MC's limbs. Maya yells at him to shake them off, unless he wants to be eaten all the way down. But the guy still doesn't react, and the princess grabs her whip to try to save him. It's almost like he wants to be eaten alive. The MC remembers the sword and runs toward it. It's there, all dignified, waiting for its master. A huge light appears, and finally the boy has the weapon in his hands. Apparently the MC used his own body as bait to lure the monsters, and led them to feed Devarov. The woman points out that was a stupid, pointless move. With the sword in hand, the boy says the weapon feels lighter than before and wonders if that's what it feels like to be acknowledged by it. Walking up to him, Maya says what he did was reckless, and he could have been eaten alive. Even so, the MC says at least it worked. The risk was huge, but so was the reward. And if you don't take certain risks, you'll never get strong in the demon clan. That makes the little princess blush. Looking at him, she says it's still way too early for the guy to be that confident, and Devarov will need to absorb a lot more power to make him someone truly strong. Maya is sure that 10 days before the clan's conference, Maran is going to do something, so the MC needs to face stronger and stronger magic beasts. The guy gets excited by the idea and says the sword is hungry. So, the princess says to her subordinate, while the MC is showing off, she gets fired up and brings countless monsters for the guy to challenge. Even though he thinks it's way too many, he fights them one by one, getting stronger and stronger. When he gets to the last creature, he chases after it, but the animal runs off into the middle of the forest. When he gets there, the MC is shocked by the sight of a dragon that wiped out that monster. The wingless dragon is a really weird beast, and it's an advanced magic beast. With the MC's current strength, it'd be really hard to fight it, but if he managed to, he'd absorb a ton of power. Looking at the sword, he wonders if he should try. Then he hears a noise coming from behind the bushes, and wonders who's there. Mommy shows up hurt and exhausted, which scares the guy. The pink-haired girl is startled to find Shura, and the guy wonders if she was following them. If that's the case, then she heard their whole conversation, but it looks like Mommy took some damage. He glances at the creature and thinks that if he doesn't move now, they're going to end up fighting, and he can take advantage of the best moment to strike. Mommy says there's never been a man who wasn't captivated by her charm, so she's going to make the guy lure that magic beast so she can escape. One of them moves and ends up stepping on a branch, drawing that horrible monster's attention. The creature that looks like a T-Rex charges straight at them. Mamie uses all her charm and screams for Shura to help her. But the MC has already run off, determined to let the monster devour her. Mamie's snake flies toward the guy, chasing him, and she clings to his shoulder. Clinging to him, the woman asks if he's still a man worth anything, and says it's really stupid to run off and leave a lady behind. Shura yells that his wife hates her, so she needs to stay away. If she saw that, she'd get really stressed out. Mamie mocks him for being a man called the God of Death, but still being controlled by his wife. If the world knew, they'd laugh in his face. But the MC yells that he doesn't care and keeps running. The weird monster spits fire at the two of them and keeps up the long chase. The flames hit the guy and he screams in pain. Mamie jumps over the boy to avoid the hit and uses him as a human shield. The MC throws Mamie to the ground and starts yelling that it hurts like hell. He's stressed out because he just got burned and yells at the woman for using him as a shield. She wraps her arms around his shoulders and asks if he didn't try to use her as bait to get away. If that's the case, then they're even. The MC starts freaking out because the demon girl is stuck to him and way too close. They hear a noise behind the bushes again, and that worries the guy, so he grabs the demon girl by the waist and runs off. Some time later, they manage to get out of the thicket, but they find themselves in front of a cliff. That is, finally the end for both of them. The monster keeps running toward the two of them. He remembers that according to Maya, the abyss poison is something not even the demon clan can withstand. But if he fights that creature, his true identity will end up being exposed. When he looks at Mammy's face, it seems like she's just waiting for him to handle everything, so it doesn't look like the MC has any other choice. Without looking back, the boy runs toward the abyss, leaving the demon girl in despair. She tries to get away from him, but the guy grabs her waist and says she wanted to stay glued to him so badly that now there's no way to escape. They jump over the abyss and the monster heads straight for the two of them. The MC drives his sword into the wall to save them from the fall. Meanwhile, the creature falls down below and ends up completely melted. Watching the scene, the guy wonders how a monster that powerful can be totally dissolved in an instant. That poison is seriously strong. Even so, he's feeling a weird cold sensation. The woman is clinging to him and shaking a lot. Mommy got so desperate she peed herself from fear. That makes her really embarrassed. Then her snake bites the MC, so he'll die. When they manage to get out of that abyss, the boy drops to the ground and wonders how she dares do that to the one who saved her life. Mommy asks if demons are even capable of feeling any gratitude. The demon woman says he had a chance to retaliate before, but he missed it. Now she'll do whatever it takes without hesitating. The woman climbs onto his lap, ready to finish the guy off once and for all. At that moment, he remembers that female demons don't match men in power, but they tend to drain their power through physical contact. Outraged, the MC stretches to reach his sword, because he's not willing to lose the power he just gained. But her snake is already latched onto his arm, and Mommy tells him not to resist, since her snake already bit him and that poison is meant exclusively for men. If the guy stays nice and still, nothing will happen. But if he tries to resist, it could end up being the end of him. Excited, Mommy rips the man's shirt, saying it's time to have some fun. But when she sees his body, something surprises her. The MC's chest is covered in wounds from low-level monsters. The thing is, Mommy doesn't get that they're wounds caused by monsters, and thinks it's just some kind of game between the princess and Shura. That body, in the end, is pretty tempting to her, and the woman is excited. Opening her mouth, Mommy says that at last the power of the god of death is all hers. The woman is on top of Shura when a whip flies toward her, throwing her away. Mommy asks what those two are doing. Her companion says that while the two of them were looking for him, the guy was cheating on his wife. Then the MC yells that it's not what they're thinking, and that woman poisoned him. But his subordinate yells that a poisoned person wouldn't be that energetic, and the princess tells him to get up. The MC says he's not getting up because Mommy told him that poison would make him explode if he moved any part of his body. Then the woman pulls him by the horn and says there's no potion like that around here. Realizing he was tricked, the MC points at Mommy, furious, and yells that she fooled him, mocking him. The demon woman says she never imagined someone like Shura would fall for it so easily. The guy doesn't understand what's going on. A moment ago, she wanted to end his life, and now they're kind of flirting. Mommy smiles and says she'll call it for the day, but they can have some fun next time. The MC cuts her off, saying she should find someone else. Grabbing the guy, Mommy says that when a man says no, that's a sign to keep going, and she kisses his cheek, making the MC blush. Behind him, the princess and her maid are watching the situation. As Mommy is leaving, Maya yells at her and says that mountain is her territory and the woman can't just come and go like nothing will happen. Annoyed, Mommy says she's surprised because the princess seems jealous, but she didn't get there alone. Earlier, she was draining Demon's energy to get stronger. Maran had hurt her snake before and she needed revenge. While walking through the forest, she ended up finding Maran's dragon. Mommy ended up overhearing the conversation between Maran and Mari. Pissed off because Shura wasn't supposed to be in the demon realm, but he was there. The eyes Mari sent were completely wiped out, and the two of them were probably noticed. That left Mommy totally confused about what was going on. Annoyed, the blonde demon asked Mari what he was going to do and if he was really going to let that woman do whatever she wanted. The guy with the cropped hair says Maran is way too anxious and there's still a long time before the clan's meeting. If everything goes well, he'll be able to take out an enemy at that opportunity. And Maran asks what he's talking about. Mari stops by his ear to tell him what he's planning to do. When all of a sudden, Mommy gets attacked from behind by a creature. The two demons hear the noise in the bushes. Mari fires her power toward the forest, asking who's there. It hits Mommy, who realizes she can't win a 2-on-1 fight, so in that situation she decides to run away. The two demons go over to the bush and find a little monster, thinking that creature was the one that made the noise. Back in the present, Mommy tells Maya that Maran isn't the kind of man to let that slide, and they need to be careful. The princess asks why she's telling her that. Then Mommy says it's just because she thinks her husband is really cute. Maya bristles with jealousy and anger, and Mommy says she's just kidding. They were about to have a lot of fun, but they had to stop halfway through. Now she needs to find some other creature to distract herself. In the end, the pink-haired demon leaves, smiling like she's on top of the world. The princess is outraged to find out Maran has some connection to those eyes that were spying on them. Apparently Mara and he are working together, and they wonder what the two of them are planning. The enemy finally showed their faces, and they can get ready. The woman whistles, and her dragon appears in the sky to pick them up. The MC asks if he can't leave with them, but the princess says no. She says he looks way too pumped and full of energy, so he shouldn't leave until he's wiped out all the magic beasts around there. Later, the guy is walking home on foot, pissed that Maya didn't show him any mercy. In that world, it's not a good idea to make enemies, especially if they're demons like those. At least he isn't as tired as he thought he'd be. And most of his wounds are already healed. Maybe he absorbed magical power. Something catches the MC's attention. A man waves at him, and when the demon comes closer, he asks what he's looking for. On top of the counter is the uniform of one of the human heroes. The seller gets excited that Shura has such a good eye and says it's a human's outfit, and it even has blood on it. Even so, it's really tough material and can be used. The MC notices it's an officer's uniform, and maybe there's something important in it, so the guy says he wants to take that shirt. Later, he gets home and starts rummaging through the clothes he bought. He finds an electronic contact lens chip that the heroes always use, and it can determine any monster's rank by the energy it gives off. Even so, in the human world, only high-ranking officers can use it, and that's why a lot of regular soldiers lose their lives in battle without being able to gauge the enemy's strength. In his old life, he saved up money to buy one of these on the black market, but it ended up breaking in the first few uses. He bought that device with money he worked really hard to save. If he'd known what would happen, he would have spent it on some tasty food instead of that. Just thinking about it makes him sad, and he feels like crying. He wonders if the demon's eyes really are human ones. Then he puts in the contact lenses. Looking at himself in the mirror, he sees his power, agility, defense, and recovery. His current rank is C. Monsters are ranked from A to F, and there are some S-rank ones which are called top-tier monsters. That body is incredible, and before he couldn't take on any monster at all, but now he's already become a C rank in just one day. Varuf's sword must need a master of the same rank. In other words, the strength he gains increases as he wipes out other beasts, and the stronger he gets, the stronger the enemies he'll have to face. If he ends up face-to-face with creatures like the Tyrannosaurus Rex that chased him that day, physical attacks won't be enough, and he'll need real demonic power. Among monsters, Demon's fighting style is the closest to humans with supernatural abilities. The offensive attributes are lightning, fire, and ice. Meanwhile, creation attributes involve earth, stone, and stuff like that. There's also the special mental attribute, but he doesn't know what kind of demon Shura is. That's when he remembers the power that mysteriously appeared inside him, when he fought back against the princess's maid's attacks to save his own life. That was probably magical power, but to recreate it, he needs to feel again what he felt in that moment. The MC sits down and starts meditating, trying to focus, but he ends up falling asleep. In his dream, he sees himself at the Heroes Awards ceremony. The captain says it's a memorable day, and after a long battle, they finally defeated the monsters and brought peace. All of this is thanks to a certain individual who fearlessly infiltrated the enemy camp during a brutal time and managed to make the enemy completely collapse. This hero of all humanity is the MC, who's cheered by everyone there, calling him a hero. The guy walks up to the commander, who says that he and his father are humanity's pride. So in their honor, the military decided to award him a medal. Bowing, the guy says he's truly honored. In the crowd, a little kid says he wants to fight and be strong like the MC when he grows up, but his mom pats his head saying they don't need to defeat monsters anymore thanks to the hero, and from then on, fear is over. Walking up to the child, the boy says the war is over, but humanity will always need strong people, and he'll teach him the essence of battle. So the child can become a man his mother will be proud of. Suddenly, a woman in the crowd calls the MC by name. She comes up and tells Ren that she always believed he'd be able to do it. The MC thanks the doctor, saying it was all thanks to her treatment, and if it weren't for her, he would have died. The girl next to her says Shiraishi Shio only saved him because she likes him, which makes Ren blush. The doctor gets indignant and is dying of embarrassment, but her friends keep saying how in love she is with the guy. In the end, the MC likes her too, and takes a sip of his drink. Suddenly, in the dream, he starts drinking too much until his belly swells up. His belt snaps and the MC tries to say he can't drink anymore. Even so, everyone keeps offering him drinks and saying he needs to act like a man. Even the girls say that if he doesn't drink, he'll never get the doctor for himself. Even so, the MC can't drink anymore. His stomach feels like it's going to explode. All of a sudden, the dream turns into a nightmare, and Kenda Yu comes up saying he's not a real hero, but a traitor. That makes the MC completely furious. Shura has a nightmare and screams at his old comrades that he's not a traitor, but nobody seems to believe him. After all, he's a demon spy when he realizes it. The MC is in the form of the demon, Shura. The soldiers shout to go capture him and lock him up. The child he tried to save in the city earlier yells to his mother that he's not a hero but a villain. All the local soldiers comment that the MC is actually a fraud. People back away from Shura, and even Nurse Shura Hishi gets scared. Even though the guy tries to explain what's going on, Kenda Yu doesn't seem to care, and yells that he's a monster. Then he lands a brutal strike to his chest, trying to kill him. Our hero wakes up startled after that nightmare, and he's alone in the room. He's probably exhausted after everything that happened and ended up falling asleep without even noticing. Even so, he'll wish the part where Shirishi comes up to him and gives him a chance was real. Suddenly, the boy realizes he urgently needs to go to the bathroom because he hasn't peed since the day before. In the bathroom, he ends up getting distracted because he's still really sleepy. Things seem pretty confusing for the guy when he notices he has 2 hoses available and gets shocked. Meanwhile, Princess Maya's servant walks the halls with the builder, and they talk about water treatment so they can use it without depending on humans. If everything works out, the princess, who's obsessed with cleanliness, will finally be able to bathe every day. Suddenly, they hear a scream and see Shura coming running down the hallway. Naked, he runs right past the 2 of them, wondering how things ended up like that, and a lot of smoke rises up the builder. Wonders what's going on with Lord Shura. The princess's servant replies that the girl has to deal with some headaches because as a man, Shura isn't very useful. Suddenly the girl notices she saw something strange in that place. Meanwhile, Maya watches the water cleaning system the humans were able to create and notices they're incredible creatures. If that works well, they'll be able to make good trades with the other beings at the conference of the 4 clans. She turns on the machinery and water starts coming out of the shower. The princess is really happy to be able to take a nice hot shower running through the halls. Shura is wondering what's going on and thinks he's never seen anything like that happen behind him. Is Maya's maids chasing after the guy and telling him to wait? Suddenly the man opens a bathroom door and hears the sound of water dripping. As soon as he steps inside, he's shocked by what he sees. Maya is in front of the guy with her back to him, and her skin is gleaming. The girl freaks out when she sees Shura there, and the man doesn't know how to react. He turns red and can't control his own body anymore. The princess's maid shows up right behind him, saying that guy has 0 common sense, but at that moment the MC is already in a super awkward situation in front of the demon girl. The 2 women get furious with Shura and attack him at the same time. The man goes flying through the roof trying to argue that that wasn't his intention. After that, he sits the 2 girls down and tries to explain that for him it's a huge surprise to have so many hoses available. Then Shura asks where that mutation came from and says he has no control over it at all. But Maya says it's not a mutation, actually he's fused with Mommy's snake. That leaves the MC even more confused. Then Maya explains that snakes have 2 parts, and to gain more experience during training, Mommy merges her body with those snakes to connect, and that's basically what happened. Maya's maid points out that that's a really ridiculous and vulgar way to level up and get stronger from the princess's point of view. She was already pretty unhappy with the previous Shura, so that freakish thing just makes everything worse at that moment. The MC finally realizes that if he goes to the human world with that body, he'll have power above everyone else and all the men will avoid him while he could win over any woman. But right now it just looks like he's a pervert. Shura is impatient and stressed, not knowing what to do, so Maya tries to comfort the guy, saying at least this will make him grow even stronger. Now the MC wonders if he'll really explode if he doesn't make use of his new abilities. The guy wants to know how he can go back to normal and believes there's a way. Maya answers that there is a possibility, but it comes at a cost. Still, the boy is determined to go through with it to the end. And the idea makes the demon girl happy as she gives a wicked little smile. All of a sudden, the servant grabs the guy from behind and Maya shows up with a knife that scares Shura to death without caring. The demon princess tries to explain that it's no big deal, just a simple method right at the back of the guy's neck. The servant says that since he's a man, he'll probably feel a tiny bit of pain and desperation. Shura yells that that's pain no man can handle and it's not that simple. The MC's worry now is if he loses one hose, will the other one be affected, not caring at all about the guy's panic. The demon girl says it's the first time she's seen a case like this, so there are no guarantees. The princess's servant leans on the MC's head and tells the girl to do it because everything's under control. Shura starts freaking out more and more. He starts begging and humiliating himself, until Maya says that maybe there's someone who can help him. The boy is let go onto the floor and feels relieved because he thinks he's been saved. Outraged, he tells Maya that if there was another solution she should have told him before, almost killing him. Apparently they're going to take the guy to the alchemist Catherine. She has a direct bond with Mommy and has already worked out several experiments together, so she should have a solution. Scared, Shura asks if all demon women are this eccentric, but he thinks having no other option is even worse, so he asks where this Catherine is, and Maya answers that she's far away from the central capital, so they need to tweak the plan. The princess tells her servant to be ready that night because they're leaving for the conference of the 4 clans. The next day morning comes, and a caravan sets out carrying the demons. Several soldiers are escorting the wagons pulled by griffins. The blonde guy Marin watches from afar with his binoculars and tells Mari that the group really did leave pretty early. The demon says Mommy wouldn't reveal such important information to everyone. Even he doesn't know much about it. The question is, where did that information come from? Mamie suddenly appears saying her child mixed with Shura, so naturally they're going to Catherine to look for help. But leaving the city the very next day means they didn't even have time to take advantage of that anomaly, which is a waste. Annoyed, Marin says Mamie always said she hated men, and he doesn't understand why she decided to cooperate with the 2 of them. The she-demon believes women need to help each other, but in a 2-against-1 situation, she'll always side with whoever's winning. Marin finds Mamie's comment funny and then says that when he becomes the demon lord, he'll give him a proper position. Now it's time to strike back, so he and a huge group of people charge toward the caravan. The blonde little demon attacks the soldiers in the transport, wrecking everything he can and freeing the griffins. Ao yells for the soldiers to protect the princess at any cost. However, the group Marin set up for the ambush is pretty strong. While the attack is happening, Marin just watches from far away. Mamie asks why he isn't going to help his buddy, if they're supposed to be partners. Then the demon asks if Mamie really thinks he's as stupid as Marin. To the point of not realizing he's being used, the she-demon gives a wicked little smile and says she has no idea what he's talking about. So to make it clear, Mary points out that Marin has the biggest number of subordinates, but Maya and Shura are really powerful, so it's smarter to watch than to go head-on. Two powerful people destroy each other, and that's the real end goal. Mamie lets out a little laugh. Noticing that Mary caught her intention, one of the woman's snakes slithers along her shoulder. The woman says Marin still hasn't understood her intentions. She'd never forgive anyone who hurt her or her children. But in the end, it's all part of Mary's plan. Someone with his intellect shouldn't be submitting to a fool like Marin. The demon watches the woman in silence for a few moments. He's finally understanding Mamie's positions. Even better, she moves closer to her colleague, interested, and comments about his stance and about Mary not making his interest in her clear with a smile. The man says that in the end they have the same goal. Mamie says they're both pretty compatible. Even so, she never noticed it. But Mary says it's never too late. Maybe they could become the perfect duo. When the she-demon gets close to the guy, her snake attacks him, but the man is faster. An explosion goes off, pushing the two apart with a little smile. Mary comments that you really can't trust a woman's words, laughing like a psychopath. Mamie rushes at the demon, asking if he didn't hear her say she'd never forgive whoever hurt her, and that it hurt like hell when Mary mistreated her. Jumping on top of the guy, she says she needs her revenge. While they're stuck in this dumb little fight, the ambush keeps going, and Ao is thrown on the ground defeated. Marin's group watches, saying all of them are a bunch of losers who got taken out before it even got fun. Annoyed, the blonde guy asks where Shura and Maya are and if they really decided to stay inside the carriage, hiding like scaredy cats. One of Marin's subordinates yells that he found the pair and opens the door of a carriage. The couple is passed out and hurt on the ground. Apparently they were caught off guard. Marin mocks them, wondering how a guy with the title of Shura could be beaten so easily. Suddenly something catches his attention. It's the Devaroof sword that's under the MC. With a little laugh, Marin says the weapon belongs to him now and grabs it. But a huge explosion catches him off guard. Mamie and Mary are fighting each other, but the explosion grabs the pair's attention. When they look, Marin is shaken because he got caught off guard by that. Marin and Mamie come closer, asking what just happened and if it was a bomb. Furious, the blonde demon says all of that was a trap, and those aren't the targets, but little robot decoys. Mamie wants to know how Maya managed to get ready so fast for that ambush and handle everything. Annoyed, Mamie says that even two powerful men teaming up to solve a problem are still completely useless. Then she leaves, saying she shouldn't even have tried to help them, and that it was a wasted opportunity. Far from there, up on the dragon, Shura, Maya, and Ao's group travel and watch the explosion just like the princess predicted. Apparently, Mamie was connected to Marin and the others traveling through the sky. They managed to escape, but Maya notes that Mamie never does anything without a reason, and even having her snake fuse with Shura wasn't some random choice. That's why she figured Mamie wanted them to get out of there earlier and set up an ambush. Considering Mamie isn't that strong on her own, it makes sense she'd look for allies, and Marin was probably the easiest to manipulate. Even so, Maya looks at Shura, shocked that it's possible to make bombs with ingredients as simple as rocks and wood. In the end, our hero actually ended up being useful for something with his chemistry knowledge and managed to build some pretty effective bombs. Excited, he says that with the right ingredients, it's possible to build whatever weapon you want. Ao says that small bombs are nothing more than mosquito bites to the demon clan, so they'll lower their guard, but it won't solve the problem, and the MC replies that's exactly why strategy is more important than weapons at that moment. Thanks to Mamie's and Otis Damaran's overconfidence, they managed to get out of that situation without having to fight. Making the enemy surrender without fighting is the best strategy possible. The Princess Maya is shocked by that and says she's never heard of a strategy like that. The guy explains that everything he knows came from the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The princess's maid doesn't find that explanation funny and says he needs to be clearer, so the guy pulls up the book cover on his tablet, but Ao isn't interested in that. The princess, on the other hand, is really interested and points out that humans do incredible things with everything, and can even fight the demon clan without any magical power. It would be amazing if demons had that kind of knowledge too. Then Shura says he can teach that to the girl, who looks confused, outraged. Ao says the guy must be trying to manipulate the girl, and that she shouldn't trust humans so easily. Noticing that that little girl isn't going to stop being a pain, Shura starts arguing that they can make a good partnership and that it could be good for everyone. The MC's intention is to find out the weakness of all four clans, and that was a golden opportunity. If he earns Maya's trust, he can move forward and understand the power of that world. Then the princess says she wants him to teach her the art of war and humanity's knowledge, starting that day. Shura gets excited about the idea, but someone grabs his arm. It's Maya herself. saying that if he has any ulterior motives, he won't be able to be her husband anymore. That grip on his arm hurts so much that the guy lets out a little yelp. Some time later, they're walking through the city. That region is where the 4 clans meet and overlap. All kinds of negotiations between clans go through there, and because of that, the place has some pretty complicated rules. That situation impresses the MC because it's the first time he's seen monsters that aren't demons. Like that, a centaur shows up in the middle of the city, drawing attention. She's being harassed by a member of the Harpy clan and defended by a colleague who's also a centaur, a member of the Beast clan. Even so, the Harpy doesn't seem bothered and says that Beast clan does everything with brute force and that he can give the girl a better experience. The fight keeps escalating and the clans attack each other in the street. They just keep attacking and can't settle it. While they're there fighting, Shura, the princess, and her servant watch everything. The MC asks if nobody's going to break up the fight, and Ao asks if he heard what the princess said in that place. Race doesn't matter. Nobody interferes and nobody protects you. That's why Katarine chose that place, and it's the perfect location for her. Shura gets confused and asks if Katarine was really that terrible. Maya says terrible isn't a strong enough word to describe her, but he'll soon find out what she's like. That makes the MC a little nervous. The group stops in front of Katarine's clinic and opens the doors. The situation makes the guy really nervous, when suddenly a little robot heads toward him. The robot introduces itself as Toto, a medical assistant. The MC's confusion is obvious, and the princess explains that Katarine is very familiar with human technology, so she stole that little robot. The maid explains why they're there, and the AI in robot form guides them inside the place. They stop in front of a door, and the robot says its mistress is working, so they should wait there. Some books catch Shura's attention. They're copies about anatomy, pharmacology, and biology. Besides that, she has statues of living beings, acupuncture diagrams, and various anatomical models, getting closer to an anatomical model of a demon. The MC notices it's really well made, and that in the end, demons aren't that different from humans. Turning to the side, he looks through a glass window at Katarine, mixing potions, pointing at the scientist. Shura tells Maya that she doesn't look as scary as they told him. The little robot says his mistress doesn't like being bothered while she's working, so the group needs to be quiet. If he doesn't shut up, he'll end up like the anatomical model in the room. Right then, Shura asks if that model is actually alive, and the robot says it got in Katarine's way while she was working, and ended up like that. Right next to it is that creature's skin. Noticing the MC is now in shock, Maya mocks him, asking if what she said about Katarine was really an exaggeration. Suddenly a wall breaks next to them. Centaurs fall into the place injured, and harpies are right behind them. The assistant robot walks up asking them to keep quiet inside the place, but the harpy doesn't care and kicks her away. The harpy walks up to the centaur saying that now nobody's going to protect her anymore, so he'll do whatever he wants. The other centaurs, who are poisons, start to panic. Seeing that, Ao gets furious and curses at the harpies. Then she asks the princess if they should step in, and Maya says they have a purpose in that city. Conflicts between the clans happen every day, especially in those sensitive times. Interfering will only cause unnecessary trouble. The harpies are there taking advantage of the centaur's weakness while the others scream in despair, but Ao starts getting really nervous and can't handle that situation. Even so, before she can react, Shura has already rushed ahead, ready to wipe those harpies out. He tries to hit them with his sword, but they dodge. The centaur moves closer to Ao and the princess while MC stares down the thugs playing the hero. Shura says he has zero respect for anyone who treats women like prey. Even if that woman is a monster, he can't stand that situation. Maya's maid is really happy, praising the guy, while the princess just thinks about how impulsive he is. The harpy can barely believe it when he sees a demon in front of him and lunges to attack him. Even so, the MC doesn't seem scared and blocks with his sword. The little assistant robot starts yelling that the decibel limit has been reached and now it's every man for himself. In the lab, Catherine is trying to make her potions, but because of the noise and the disturbance she can't. She storms out of the lab, furious, yelling that they're interrupting her work. Everyone goes quiet. Watching, the little assistant robot notes that the doctor's blood pressure level is higher than it should be. Catherine gets mad at her little robot and complains that he let them bother her. The harpies wonder if that's the alchemist Catherine and say they've heard of her, but thought she was a hybrid. Turns out she's just a normal woman. That leaves Shura pretty confused, and Maya explains that Catherine is like Mamie, a hybrid between the Demon Clan and the Beast Clan. The main difference is that while Mamie and her snake are twins, Catherine has traits from both clans in her own body. Shura is shocked when he realizes Mamie's snake isn't just her pet, it's her sister. Catherine asks the princess's group if they're the ones causing trouble, and the two girls point at the harpies, saying it's their fault. Putting on a great act, their MC says he's just a sick man, and didn't do anything that serious. That whole scene makes the harpies furious. The centaur explains to Catherine that the harpy clan attacked her companions and left them badly hurt. For a moment, the doctor stays silent. Watching, the woman turns her back and tells her little assistant robot to handle it by throwing the harpy clan out, or she'll turn him into a piece of metal. Mocking her, the harpies say the alchemist is acting really interesting, and they've heard lots of stories about her. Now they want to take her with them. Hearing that, the woman goes deathly quiet. Apparently she hates being called a mutant, and that'll be the end of those harpies. The monsters move in on Catherine, taunting her and wondering what bloodline she's from. Since she doesn't have wings or flashy ears, maybe she's hiding a tail. She gives a little smile and asks why they don't look for themselves. since they want to know so badly. The harpies agree and say they won't hold back. Suddenly legs burst out from Catherine's lower body, and she turns into a hybrid beast. With her sharp claws, she pierces the harpies, taking them out one by one. Shura comments that so Catherine is kind of like a spider. Maya explains she's the daughter of a specific group within the Beast clan, made up of Black Widows. In Black Widow society, men are only good for breeding and food. Apparently Catherine's dad got eaten after her mom gave birth. That's why the demon clan basically shakes just from hearing her name. The woman goes back to her normal form and the harpies drop to the ground. Wrecked Catherine tells her robot assistant to clean up the whole place, and he gets to work. Using creepy tools, he cuts the harpies open and takes out all their organs, putting them in jars. In the end, only the bones are left. The centaur asks the alchemist for help, saying his friend is already at his limit. When Catherine looks over, she tells them to follow her. Passing by Shura and Maya, she says they have to come with her too. But by then the MC is really on edge and says he's not that interested anymore in fixing the problem with his extra hoses. Not letting the guy run off, Maya grabs him with a little smile on her face. The centaurs get treated by Catherine and put on equipment. She gave them the antidotes, but it might take a while before they wake up and can walk again. Glancing at Shura, she asks what the guy wants. Whispering in Catherine's ear, Maya explains the situation. Knowing it was all Mommy's fault, she finds it really interesting, so she says she can treat him. But on one condition, Maya gets jealous and asks what condition that would be. Catherine looks at the MC, and he gets a bad feeling. After that, in a room, a bunch of demons who specialize as doctors are gathered. Catherine says she's going to introduce them to a rare genetic freak, something you only see once in a lifetime, so they should take advantage of the chance to study and become alchemists in the future. The monsters start getting worked up, wondering what kind of patient could be so weird that Professor Catherine managed to get the MC is brought in tied to a wheelchair. Into the main room, Shura gets nervous because he thinks it's humiliating to be exposed like that in front of so many creatures. Ayo says he's a man and shouldn't care about that. And Maya says she'll cover his face so it'll be easier. When the door opens, there are a bunch of demons staring at him excited. After everything, Shura is crouched on the floor crying and feeling humiliated. The princess's maid tells him to pull himself together, since it wasn't a big deal. The two start arguing and Maya tells them to stop it. The princess asks if Catherine is going to treat the boy's problem. The alchemist says that's impossible, and the MC freaks out because on top of embarrassing him, she's also going to break her promise. The woman says that to fix the problem she needs a special potion, and there's only one vial of it. But during the mess earlier, that vial ended up breaking, so it's not like she doesn't want to cure him, she just can't. Finishing her point, she says that to make it up to him, she can turn him into a human model and he'll be remembered throughout history. Her robot assistant is already ready to dissect the guy. Shura is outraged at the woman's nerve, and she says he can contribute to medicine and should feel proud. Maya asks what kind of potion is needed and says they can go after it. Making fun of the girl, Catherine asks if even the demon princess would go that far for a man. Maya doesn't bite at the provocation and insists on knowing where to get the potion. So the alchemist says it comes from a mima flower. She snaps her fingers and her robot servant starts drawing something on paper. The mima flower isn't just rare, it's really hard to grow. As far as she knows, there are only a few on a specific mountain, but even with that info, it's useless. The conference of the 4 clans is happening soon, so those flowers are heavily guarded on Beast Mountain, and if someone from another race sneaks in, it'll be a huge problem. Looking at Shura, Catherine asks if they're really going to take that risk. The boy takes the paper with the flower drawing from the princess's hand, and leaves. Maya asks where he thinks he's going. Smiling, the MC says he's going to look for that flower on his own. The princess's maid is furious at the guy's audacity. They've got their own problems too, and the princess has a special status. If he crosses the border without a good reason, it could cause trouble between the clans. Worst case, it could end in a war. Shura says he knows that, and that's exactly why he decided to handle it alone. Smiling, he notices Maya is just trying to prove her strength, but he wants her to trust him because of his abilities, and his potential to protect even her life. The princess is startled at first, but ends up agreeing. Later on, they head to the edge of the Beast clan. The MC has his hood up to try to blend in. Sure, he tried to act really calm earlier, but now he doesn't really know what to do. If he doesn't get that flower, he'll end up dying anyway, so he has no choice. At the gate, there are several beasts standing guard, sizing up the situation. A man walks by with his tail swaying and catches the guard's attention, who realizes it's something fake. A demon was trying to sneak in and ends up getting caught red-handed. The blonde demon, after getting caught, tries to shout that he's only there to visit his family, since his wife is from the beast tribe. But the gate guard isn't going to let him go because rules are rules. Something catches the fugitive's attention behind him, and a giant creature smacks him. A single blow is enough to take the fugitive down. Using his equipment, Shura checks how strong that creature is and notices they're both rank B. Just as you'd expect from the #1 monsters in combat, the MC decides to try to get out of there before he's noticed, but the guard calls out to him. The wolf shows up right behind him, asking where he thought he was going. Making up an excuse, Shura says he suddenly really needs to use the bathroom. The wolf sniffs him and asks why the kid smells like demons. Making up even more excuses, the MC says earlier he got invited to drink with a demon girl and might have picked up her scent. The guard tells him to take off his hood, and when he sees the MC is nervous, he asks if the guy has something to hide. Now the 2 members of the beast tribe are standing right in front of him. Things have gotten out of control and it looks like there's no way to run. Shura gets ready to draw his sword as a creature comes over to remove his hood. Suddenly someone tells them to wait. It's the group of centaurs he helped earlier. Coming up, the woman walks up to the guard who asks why the girl is there. She says she came because of supplies and brought plenty of booze as a gift. That makes the beasts really happy. One of the guards thanks the centaur for remembering them when she must be so busy with the duty of gathering supplies for the clan conference. Then he tells the other staff to help carry the supplies she brought into the city. But the centaur says it's fine and gives the MC a little kick, telling him to work properly. Seeing that, the guard asks if Matira knows Shura. She explains that since this time there were a lot of supplies to haul, she hired some extra help. But that guy ditched the job halfway and went home early. She regrets hiring him. The guard says that must be why Shura was hiding, all scared. Then he shoves the kid and tells him to get to work. The MC pushes the cart into the city, and Matira gives him a smile. Now the MC is helping Matira haul her cart through the city, and has finally made it inside the beast's territory. She says goodbye to the kid, saying that's as far as she can take him, because she still has duties to take care of, and Shura thanks her for looking out for him. He wonders why she decided to lie so much to help him, considering he's a total stranger. With a smile, Matira says he's not a stranger to her. He's the one who helped her at the demon clinic. Looking at the centaur, he asks if she doesn't have any doubts about what he came to do there. Since he's a demon, the woman says he's not a bad person, and the Beast Clan monster's intuition never fails. That comment makes the MC really shy. Now our hero starts noticing things about that new world, and that even monsters seem to have a sense of what's good and what's bad. Everything they'd learned so far about those creatures was that they were ruthless and didn't care about humans, but they seem to learn skills to grow, and they even have a sense of morality. If you look closely, even the medicine and technology are advanced there. The question is whether the monsters evolved, or if humans just never understood them. Shura cuts off his own thoughts, deciding it won't get him anywhere, and he needs to find the Mima flower. Matira says there's a reason she helped the kid. Beast creatures never leave a debt unpaid, so now if they meet on the battlefield, they'll be enemies. Smiling, the MC agrees and says the debt is finally paid. The two of them head off. Another creature comes up to Matira after Shura has already left and asks if she really thinks it's safe to let a demon in there. The centaur says he was with the demon princess Maya at the clinic. She doesn't know what his goal is, but traveling with the demon princess is no small thing. Matira tells her subordinate to follow the boy and bring her information about whatever he finds out. A little girl walks right past Matira in silence, head down. That really catches the centaur's attention, but when she turns around, there's nobody there anymore. Sometime later, Shura keeps walking through the city, while being quietly followed by a beast. Eventually, the kid loses sight of him. Shura is well hidden and manages to shake the tail off. He thinks those creatures are actually pretty smart. Now the MC has to figure out how he's going to reach his goal and wonders if he should ask someone. All of a sudden, that same little girl from before bumps into him and starts apologizing. When she looks up at him, Shura notices the little girl is really cute. The little girl comes closer, apologizing for getting the man's clothes dirty, and says she'll try to clean it for him. But the MC steps back in time and the girl falls face first onto the ground. She just lies there shaking. That worries Shura, because he doesn't get why she's acting so weird. He crouches down next to her and asks if she's okay. In a sweet voice, she says she's just hungry. Sometime later, he takes her to a restaurant. The beast's survival rule is like the law of the jungle. Because of that, the younger or older ones end up getting the short end of the stick and having their food stolen. Even so, nothing explains how much food that little creature devoured. The girl is satisfied after endless plates and asks if she overdid it. Shura says it's fine and asks what a kid like her is doing all alone around there and where her family is. Scared, the little girl says she ran away from home, which leaves the MC confused. At her house from a very young age, she was looked down on for being a girl and having a body that was too weak. So every day she was escorted around, beaten, and forbidden to eat. After her younger brother was born, she was forgotten even more. They turned the girl into the family's servant. The day before, she collapsed from exhaustion. Whenever her father gets home, all that's left for her is violence. She says it was fear that made her run far away. Shura's furious hearing that story and feels angry at that little girl's parents. Smiling, the child asks what the MC's name is. The MC answers that his name is Bomb and asks the girl's name. She says her name is Putu Shura. Giving a kid such a generic name is just ridiculous. After that quick exchange, Pooh thanks the MC for the help and asks how she can repay him. But Shura says there's no need, when he realizes he can take advantage of the situation. Taking advantage of it, the boy asks if she knows Mount Banju, and the girl looks confused. She says it's the hyena's nest and a really dangerous place. Apparently the hyenas are cruel in a refined way and set up ambushes for anyone who comes close. But the worst part is that they use babies as food. That's why everyone sends the hyenas to the mountain, and now the little girl wants to know why the MC wants to go there so badly. Shura answers that he's looking for something, but it's only available on that mountain. Smiling, Pooh says that if he means the Mimamura flower, she has one at home. That info makes our hero happy, and the girl says her father picked that flower some time ago, and since he's still not home, they can go there and get it. The little girl gets up from the table and tells Shura to wait there because she should be back soon. The MC thinks it's his lucky day and good things keep happening. If everything keeps going like this, he might be home soon. The MC waits there for a long time for the little girl to come back, and there's no sign of her. Suddenly, the owner of the place slams the table and asks how much longer Shura plans to stay there. The guy has spent almost the whole day in that place and hasn't ordered anything else. The owner is really mad at the MC because it looks like the kid is messing with him. But Shura says he's just waiting for his friend to come back. Outraged, the giant pig says he's taking up space in his place without giving him any kind of profit, and the MC solves it by saying he'll pay for the seat. However, when Shura puts his hand in his pocket, he realizes he doesn't have any money at all. The owner of the place notices what's going on, and out of nowhere, the guy's in deep trouble. Getting up from his chair, the MC says they're wrong, and that's not how things work. Truth is, if they get into a fight right there, they'll find out he's a demon. So he needs to get out of there fast. Slamming the table hard, the cook says the kid doesn't seem afraid of death, so they manage to catch Shura, who's shaking, tense on the floor. All of a sudden, he sees a book where the main character is named Pooh. All of a sudden, things start making a lot more sense to him. He remembers that the moment the child bumped into him, she stole his coin pouch. That means the kid got played out on the street. The little girl is happy with her little bag of money. She totally fooled Shura with her sad story. To make up for not having money, the MC does chores at the place, like carrying plates of food and washing dishes. By accident, Shura trips with a bucket of water in his hand, and all that filthy stuff spills all over the pig, who gets furious. That huge pig starts treating Shura like crap, leaving him frustrated. Now the MC's wish is to turn him into a steak. Even though he really wants to jump into a fight, he remembers what Maya said about not fighting the beast creatures. All he can do is put up with it. Giving in, the MC backs off, saying he'll keep working somewhere else in the city. Matira is shocked because the little girl is still missing. One of her co-workers hands her a piece of paper that's a note, where the little kid says she's not coming back and called everyone idiots. The boss recommended they look for the girl anywhere, but maybe she's already far away. Even so, Matira believes that if she'd gone through the gate, the guards would have noticed. Of course, the girl has run away before, but this time it draws a bit more attention. At that moment, the centaur remembers the little kid who passed right in front of her, and has an idea where the girl might be. Before heading out to search, Matira says you can't be too careful, and they shouldn't spread that the little girl is missing, since there are creatures in there that aren't beasts. After a day of working hard to pay the bill, Shura's sore all over. Now his hatred is aimed at the little kid who tricked him out on the street. He hears a group of beasts chatting with the little girl because she told them a really sad story. This time she made up that she was sold by her own father. With tears in her eyes and that helpless look, she says she's really scared. All of a sudden, Shura walks up, cursing the girl out. He's clearly full of rage, trying to avoid the worst. The little girl points at him and says he's the old man who's going to try to capture her. Shura is outraged at being called an old man, especially since he's really young and good-looking. Pointing at the kid, he tries to yell at the men there, saying that little girl is a con artist. One of the men says that for a little girl like that, Shura can definitely look like an old man still. He doesn't let it get to him, and says he wants his money back. But when he gets close to the girl, one of the creatures grabs his arm. Two of the guys there start trying to attack the MC, while the third takes the little girl by the hand and leads her away from there. Before leaving, the girl still mocks Shura. The wolf drags the girl through the streets, and she's grateful he helped her against the guy from before. All of a sudden, something starts bothering the girl. When the man gets concerned, she says she hasn't eaten in a while. And while the man is distracted, she tries to steal his money pouch from his pocket. But the beast grabs her wrist and says she might have managed to fool the idiot earlier, but she's not going to do the same to him. The girl tries to play dumb to get out of that situation, but now the man doesn't even care anymore, and says she should go home with him. The little girl reacts by kicking him and jumping away from him. But now that beast has a furious look on his face. He takes the wolf mask off his face and reveals he's a hyena. When the girl realizes it, his buddies are right behind her and she's surrounded by 3 hyenas. Outraged, the girl says they should be on Banju Mountain and doesn't understand why they're there. One of the hyenas says that thanks to the girl's boss, the guards are out patrolling the edges, so they manage to sneak in. Now they're thirsty and hungry. All of a sudden, they start closing in on the little girl, and she tries to dodge by jumping off the walls and climbing up onto the roof. She throws roof tiles down on the enemies, and they're briefly stunned. Mocking them, the girl says that if they think they can catch her, they can keep trying, but they won't manage it. The hyenas are furious, staring up even so. The hyenas don't think they'll fall behind, since their strong point is their sense of smell. They figure out where the girl must be and start chasing her by her scent. Somewhere else in the city, Matira is in a fight trying to find the little girl, but she's not having any luck. Meanwhile, the little girl runs from the hyenas and runs into Matira. She hides because she doesn't want to be seen, and wonders what Matira is doing there. For a moment, the kid wonders if she should tell Matira about the hyenas, but if she does that, she'll have to go home with her, which she's not planning to do. In the distance, she sees Shura walking through the city. Pissed off that guy being there is the perfect opportunity for her. The MC is looking for the girl and suddenly notices she's right behind him. Full of anger, Shura says she caught him on a really bad day, and if she thinks he won't attack her just because she's a kid, she's dead wrong. Smiling at the MC, the little girl says that if he wants to go to Mount Banju, she can take him there. But there's a condition. The MC doesn't want to hear that offer and says he doesn't trust her anymore and just wants his money back. Looking at him, the kid says she knows he's a demon. That leaves the MC pretty confused. Grabbing his fake tail, he says she's wrong and he's a beast man. In one quick move, the little girl yanks the guy's tail right off. Then she threatens him, saying she can scream for help anytime and expose him. The MC takes his fake tail back and asks how she figured out what he was. The girl says that if he were really a beast man, he'd know the way to the mountain. But since he asked about it, it means he's not from around here. That means that right then, Shura has no choice but to listen to her. The MC walks through the city, hood up, keeping a low profile. Deep down, he can't believe he's being used like that by a kid. The girl hid under his cloak. After a while, they reach the entrance to the trail up Mount Banju. Without thinking twice, the MC starts heading up the mountain. But when he looks back, he realizes the girl is following him. Eventually, the MC gets fed up and yells at the girl to stop following him. Smiling, she says she's still got his money in her hands and asks if he's fine with that. Holding out his hand, Shura asks if she's going to give the money back, but the girl says no. Angry, the MC says she can consider that payment for guiding him to that place, but she'd better never show her face in front of him again, or he won't show any mercy. Then Shura keeps going, climbing the mountain, but the little girl keeps following him, wanting to know why the man is looking for that flower that isn't even that useful. Looking at how tall that mountain is, the MC starts getting nervous. The alchemist said the flower grows right at the peak, but it looks way too high and it might take a long time to get up there. Suddenly, the little girl says she found one of the flowers, and that freaks the MC out. He comes closer and asks if she's lying when she says that's the flower he's looking for. Teasing him, the girl says it's up to him whether he believes her or not, but if he doesn't take that flower, she will. So Shura steps in to pick the flower. When he looks at the reference drawing of the flower, he notices a few things are different, but he's not sure. So he leans in to grab the plant and gets shoved by the little girl. His face lands right in the middle of that flower, which turns out to be a vicious carnivorous plant. Meanwhile, at Catherine's clinic, Maya and Ao are cleaning up what's left. The robot assistant says that hole in the wall is a big problem and they need to rebuild it so they can open the clinic the next day. But by that point, Ao is already mad at the stupid little robot. She yells that if he's not going to help, then he shouldn't get in the way either. She's really outraged because it was the harpies who wrecked the place, so they shouldn't be the ones held responsible. Smiling, Catherine says that if they hadn't gotten involved in the harpies fights, that wouldn't have happened, and at the end of the day, it's everyone's responsibility. There, Maya asks if Shura is doing okay, and if he's already gotten the Mima flower. Catherine says she ended up forgetting to tell him there's another flower called Sayu that looks like the Mima flower, but it's dangerous if he mixes them up. Far from there, our hero is trapped in a damp, dark place, unable to move. Basically, he just got swallowed by a carnivorous plant. When he sticks his head out and looks at the outside world, the little girl is laughing her head off at him. Outraged, Shura tells the girl to get him out of there, but the girl says that once the Sayu flower catches its prey, it doesn't usually let go easily. Of course, that doesn't mean there isn't a way out. Angry, Shura tells the girl to hurry up and say how he can get rid of this, teasing the guy. The girl says he'll figure it out soon enough. The flower starts gripping him tighter and tighter, and the guy screams in despair. At Catherine's clinic, Maya asks what would happen if Shura accidentally picked the wrong flower, and the alchemist explains that even though the flowers look really similar, their effects are the opposite. While the Mima flower has detox properties and can neutralize Mamie's potion, the Sayu flower is an aphrodisiac and feeds the hormones produced when there's male exposure. This second plant absorbs all of a person's energy. If he's been caught by one, he'll be completely drained by the end of the night. That leaves both women totally shocked. Maya doesn't understand why Catherine didn't mention something so important. The alchemist explains that she said the Mima flower grows at the top of the mountain, while the other flower grows much lower down, so the guys shouldn't get them confused. But if some incident happened, it's most likely his own fault. Anyway. Meanwhile, the child explains to the MC that once the plant absorbs all the guy's nutrients, it'll let him go outraged. Shura says that before he gets let go, he won't even be alive anymore. The plant starts to kick in to drain the MC's energy, and he gets really nervous about it. The draining is working, and Shura isn't even aware of anything anymore. The little girl watches and says he looks like he's having a lot of fun, so she's gonna leave him there outraged. The MC yells that he can barely stay alive and she owes him one, so she needs to save him, smiling at the man. The little girl says she'll help him if in return he becomes her servant, obeying any request she makes without questioning it. That suggestion makes Shura furious, and he says he'd never submit to some brat like her. Meanwhile, in the Beast City, the search for the child continues. Matira's group finds the hyena's mask and smells the little girl and the enemies. The question now is whether the hyenas kidnapped the girl facing the complicated situation. Matira concludes they need to go to the hill where the hyenas live. The MC starts having a weird dream where he's with a girl they're about to play cards together. It's a really interesting situation, and the guy gets emotional. Suddenly, Maya shows up yanking him by the hair, jealous. The two girls argue a bit about who gets to have the guy. Maya suggests they split him, half for one and half for the other, since the guy is pretty big and sturdy, and on top of that he's got hose for everyone. It ends up being convenient to split him. The MC feels totally satisfied in that situation. While he's enjoying all the sensations he's having, he notices a different presence. Mammy appears behind him, ready to use him too. Shura backs away. Scared, Mammy says she's not there to interfere, she actually just wants to have fun too. Dr. Shiraishi Shio says Shura belongs to them, and Maya agrees, smiling. Mammy says men are like a rye field. If you grow it right, you can always have more. The demon snake bites him, and things start getting weird. Shura can't control himself anymore. Everything is flowing through his body. The three women get excited about the situation, and the MC lies down on the bed with no energy. He says he's already completely empty, but Mammy says men are never empty. Suddenly, Shura wakes up in the middle of nowhere. Freaked out from a nightmare, he probably passed out that bold flower. Stole everything he had, even though the guy hasn't been with any woman in the last 23 years. He hears a noise in the bushes, and the little girl steps out to the side, giggling outraged. The MC asks what she is. He says that if she was planning to steal something off a corpse, she picked the wrong guy because he's still alive. The girl gets offended and says she's not that cruel. Then she goes quiet, upset, and says she doesn't know where to go. Her dad and the others are at some meetup and probably didn't even notice. She left. Even if she goes back, she'll be alone, and she doesn't want to go back. Annoyed, Shura asks if the girl is making stuff up again and says that this time she's pretending she's some poor little girl her parents don't love. The girl says that's the truth. Her mom died giving birth to her. Her dad loves her a lot, but he ends up being away for a long time because of work. Sometimes she goes about a month without seeing him, and even when they're supposed to eat together, something always comes up. Watching other kids being taken care of by their parents makes her feel lonely, and she can't understand why it only happens to her. So she started reading novels and imagining what it'd be like to be the main character. That way she could have a little fun, even when she was alone. Even so, all she wanted was to have her dad by her side, hugging the MC. She asks if that's really too much to ask. The guy asks her to back off because he's super sensitive. After getting drained by the plant, offended, the kid shoves Shura, saying there's no reason for her to be opening up to some cold and sensitive demon. He'd never be able to understand how she feels. Trying to defend himself, Shura says his dad was absent too, and he only saw him on his birthday, so more than anyone, he understands what loneliness is like. The little girl says he doesn't look like someone you'd feel sorry for, but seeing that someone had it way worse than her makes her feel better. The girl asks if the MC didn't feel angry at his dad. He thinks about it and remembers his birthday when he was little that day. His mom gave him a birthday present from her and his dad, a hero uniform for the boy at some point during the birthday. The MC's mom stepped away to deal with a few things, leaving the kids talking on his birthday. Shura's dad had promised he'd introduce him to the captain. All the kids got excited, and the boy promised he'd get an autograph and take a photo with the super popular person. They waited until 6 in the evening, but it was getting late. His classmates started doubting that the boy's dad was actually a captain. The kids started arguing about it, and the MC tried to defend himself because what he was saying was true. Trying to defend himself, Shura hints that his classmates are just jealous. The MC doesn't drop the teasing and says his classmate's dad is a wimp. When he saw a monster, he peed his pants and had to be taken away in an ambulance. That means Shura's dad is a hero, while his classmate's dad is a coward. The fight kept getting worse, and the other kid yelled that at least his dad was around. Shura says his dad is a busy person, since he spends the whole day protecting humanity, still not believing the MC really has a present dad, let alone a military dad. The blonde kid says that soon the guy will make up another excuse, like saying his dad went off on some mission to explain why he's never home. Pointing at the other kid, Shura says his dad has never broken a promise, and the kid will regret doubting him, teasing him. The blonde kid says that if Shura is so confident, he should bet his new uniform. The MC agrees and says that if he wins, he'll want to fight the other kid. The MC's dad is heading home, nervous because it's his first time making a cake for his son. He stops at the front door, emotional about the whole thing. Then he puts the cake on the ground and hides next to the door to surprise his son. But then his phone ends up ringing and he has to step away at home. Shura's mom gets the call from her husband explaining what happened, and she's sad he can't show up there. She says if it's work, there's not much to do, and she'll wait for him with the kid. The MC is having a lot of fun with his little classmates when his mom calls his attention. She starts explaining the situation after that. The boy was completely shaken, even with his mom trying to explain that he didn't have a choice because it was a mission. Work stuff. Shura's mom hands him a cake his dad made as a present and says that when he comes back, they can all eat it together. But the kid gets stressed out, full of rage, and knocks the cake onto the floor, shouting with tears in his eyes. The kid says he only sees his dad on his birthday, and he makes promises he can't keep. Even his friends call him a liar because his dad is never around. The kid locks himself in his room crying and keeps cursing his dad, furious about what happened. Meanwhile, on TV, a news report starts playing about an attack caused by monsters that could only be contained, thanks to the heroes showing up. In that moment, the MC realizes his dad really was on an emergency, important mission. That night, the MC's little friends are walking back home. The blonde kid is wearing the hero outfit the boy got for his birthday and says that in the end, he really is a liar. The group agrees it's ridiculous to be friends with some random liar like the kid and decide they need to put an end to that. On the way, the kids run into a security guard telling people to take a different route because there's a monster attack and the heroes are handling it. Instantly, the kids get excited to see the heroes fighting in person. They try to ask the guard to help them watch the fight live, but the man can't do anything. Meanwhile, the blonde kid just runs past the security barrier. One day, he wants to join the heroes, and in that moment, he isn't afraid of the monsters. Suddenly, a giant hand grabs him. A terrifying creature has the child trapped. The guard yells into his radio that a child has been captured and they need backup. The soldiers try to shoot the monster, but it doesn't do any good. It just starts climbing up a huge building. The blonde kid is terrified of being carried up the building. The guard's bullets aren't enough and don't even tickle the monster. Again, he says on the radio that he needs support. A man runs past him and leaps into the air, Using his hero skills and powers, he manages to launch himself onto the enemy. In one quick move, he hits the monster in the back with his swords. Then he hits it over and over, slicing it into several pieces. When the child falls, he catches him in mid-air and lands softly with the kid in his arms. The little kids are really happy to see that hero in person and ask to take a photo. Only then does the man look at the uniform the blonde kid is wearing with his son's name on it. In the newspaper, there's a story saying a child was attacked by a monster, but Captain Hero Chisutomo Hazuda managed to complete the rescue. The kid runs out of the house, saying his dad is in danger and he needs to help. But before he can go out the front door, his dad shows up, crying. The MC says he said he hated his own dad, but it's not true and he loves him. The man tells the little boy he ran into his friends earlier and those kids have something to tell him. The MC's friends come in and apologize for doubting him. Then they ask to keep being his friends and give the uniform back. His dad looks at him and asks if the kid knows what he should do. In that moment, the MC says they can be friends forever. The hero stands up and says at least it's not midnight yet and they can eat the cake. The MC's mom comes over saying the cake's been through a lot. It ended up turning into a total mushy mess. The MC's dad wonders how things ended up like that and thinks about how hard he worked on that cake. The little boy tries to run off before he gets noticed, but it's too late now. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.